What is going on, Neon Nation? Welcome back to the Neon Arcade for some more Cyberpunk 2077 news. Today we'll be talking about some new information from an old interview with Cyberpunk 2077 developers and some clarification on this information, statements about the Cyberpunk 2077 delay from senior quest designer Philip Weber, the status of the Taipei Game Show, and misinformation on a new Cyberpunk 2077 demo, a 2077 fan film, CD Projekt shares breaking records, and more. Before we get into it, I've partnered with Displate to get you guys 15% off their high quality metal prints. They offer officially licensed Cyberpunk 2077 art from CD Projekt Red amongst a ton of other unique pieces, so check out the link in the description to browse some of their designs and styles. First, we have an article from onmicrosoft.com where an interview with Head of Krakow studio John Mamais was mentioned. Now, due to the nature of this article, I went through CDPR's community manager and PR to make sure this was a legitimate interview. It does seem like it is multiple articles from PAX Australia slapped together, which is not at all mentioned or explicitly stated, and PAX Australia was quite some time ago. This pieced together interview, if you can really even call it that, did get picked up by a ton of other media outlets, so I just want to mention that this information, although new to many, is subject to being somewhat outdated. Regardless, there are tidbits we have not talked about yet. The first question of interest to me was in regards to the teaser trailer and if it was the original vision for Cyberpunk 2077 or just proof of its concepts. John Mamais answers with he thinks this was the original vision at one point, but it has evolved and changed a lot since then. Customization is a big element of Cyberpunk 2077, and when asked how wild customization can get and if you can make a hilariously disfigured character, Mamais responds that there are limits because the customization options still need to fit the skeletal rig of the character.
No.
We have talked about the Nintendo Switch in the past, and when it comes to plans on the Nintendo Switch, Mamais mentions that Cyberpunk 2077 may be too heavy for it. It seemed like it was a miracle getting The Witcher 3 on the Switch, and with Cyberpunk 2077 being so massive in its scale and density, I think this is something we'll have to wait for. Whatever Nintendo has planned for its next generation may be able to accommodate Cyberpunk, but only if CDPR wants to go that route. We already know we can play Cyberpunk 2077 100% non-lethally, but John Mamais adds that this not only makes the game harder by not killing enemies, but that it will also take longer to play. The easiest way to play the game is to run and gun. Tons of questions have been asked about simulator type experiences, and Mamais mentions that, quote, "We don't have any simulator stuff or gameplay. In Witcher 3, we did the open world elements very late into the developmental process when we had only 2 or 3 people working on it." VR was also brought up, and Mamais admits that they do have VR dev kits, but that in many senses VR is just not viable yet and is still experimental and niche. If you guys are super into VR, GTA 5 just released a first-person VR mod that seems to be quite good. For 2077 in the future, if there is demand for it, there will probably be an unofficial mod for this, as I know modders are itching to get their hands on Cyberpunk 2077 for purely this reason. Mamais goes on to mention an interesting detail in that there are around 75 street stories. These street stories are a way to explore the world and level up your character, and they're all custom and handcrafted. Clarifying with CDPR's community manager Lilea, she adds that the only thing confirmed right now is that they have street stories, and she wouldn't call them minor quests because those already exist alongside the main quest. Street stories are more akin to the question marks from The Witcher. Street stories in the past have also been likened to monster contracts from again The Witcher, which we obtained from fixers, which will increase our street cred, giving us access to things like high-tiered vendors in the world. So pretty much street stories are not your traditional main side quests, as those will also already exist. When asked if there is anything he's particularly excited about, Mamais mentions that the real-time global illumination system has yet to be shown to the public, and that it is going to look more breathtaking than what we've seen so far. He also mentions that the acoustic system that one of their sound programmers came up with is going to sound really realistic because of how it uses the geometry. It creates a reverb effect, so it changes as the space changes. According to him, it's going to be very immersive, deep, and beautiful sounding. Moving on, we have news from the Taipei Game Show, which was supposed to happen on February 6th before it was cancelled due to the coronavirus. If you were reading articles about the Taipei Game Show, you'd know that Cyberpunk 2077 was going to have a presence there, but it was misreported that there would be a new demo shown. While some sites have gone back to correct their errors, some also have yet to. It was always the case that CDPR would be showing the Pacifica demo with the Chinese localizations for the Asian market, and that it would not be a new demo. The event has been postponed regardless, so no, unfortunately, no new Cyberpunk 2077 content on the immediate horizon. Moving on, we have a developer post from senior quest designer Philip Weber with some additional transparency on some of the rumors as to why Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed, mainly in relation to rumors that the base model Xbox One console was holding back the release of Cyberpunk. In a forum post, Weber says, quote, "Of course we're optimizing for the Xbox One and for the PlayStation and for the PC, because that's what you do in the last stretches of game development. While the game is made, lots of things are unoptimized because they're all in flux, changing and still not finished." So simple answers like they delayed the game because of X might make for a good rumor, but doesn't hold a lot of truth. There's always many reasons. Among them, and I can speak for myself, simply fixing bugs so that the game is as polished as possible. No hidden agendas, just working on making the game better. It's always nice to see developers take to the forums and level with their audience, and I think the consensus is that the additional months utilized here is going to make 2077 the best version of the game possible. Moving on, we have some updates regarding censorship and China. This comes from astute journalistic work from Subsidian from the SSS League, whose channel will be in the description below. According to some of his contacts, who know individuals who are not on the CDPR team, but who are involved with the censoring in China, the game is looking quite good in terms of censorship. Whilst things like nudity may be forcibly censored, there are some standout story elements which China might actually be okay with. The game shows some of the evils of American capitalism, and obviously for China, no issues there with this being present in the game. Hong Kong in the lore is also a deserted and desolate area, and the Chinese have stopped a viral outbreak, again something that favors the Chinese image. Keanu is also popular in China, and the game is a Polish game and does not originate from the United States. Again, these are all good signs for those who are getting the game in China, at least in terms of story details and elements not being censored. Next up, we have a quickfire segment. CD Projekt Red wrapped up their photo contest and shared some images of their winning submissions. Congratulations to the top 3 here. There are some really striking images that exemplify just how cyberpunk their cities are. Richard Devine, who's working in collaboration on the Cyberpunk soundtrack, mentioned in an interview with Krotos Audio that he used Krotos software Reformer Pro and Dehumanizer 2 to make many of the sound effects in the game. If you are musically inclined or familiar with these programs, this might give you an indication on what his music in the game will sound like. Jinx has also teased some Cyberpunk 2077 products to be launched at the New York Toy Fair, happening in around 3 weeks, although there is also this image that shows what may be on display there. We also have some great news from CD Projekt, as their stock broke through to a 300 PLN or zloty trading price. Brought about by mainly the Witcher Netflix series helping to drive sales of the Witcher games, as well as the promise of Cyberpunk 2077, despite the delay, their market value of 1 billion zloty in 2012 has skyrocketed to 28.9 billion. Congratulations to CD Projekt on this monumental achievement. Moving on, we have some details of a Cyberpunk fan film being created by Mall Cosplay, who helped CDPR in an official capacity, role-playing as V for some of the events CDPR attended last year and the year before. This is a small budget passion project, with Maul playing as Johnny Silverhand, who will be the protagonist. So far we know of a club scene, which the project needed extras for, but this scene has also been shot and the project seems to be in full production. If Netflix ever decides to pick up Cyberpunk for a future TV series, this might give us a little taste of what that would possibly be like. When it comes to CDPR in North America, Stephanie Bayer has joined the team as the North American Head of Communications, which as far as I know took quite some time to be filled. In a tweet she says, quote, "I'm thrilled to announce I've joined CD Projekt Red as their NA Head of Communications, focusing on relationships with media and content creators. I'm still in total awe I get to work on Cyberpunk." She's had similar roles at Blizzard, as well as community manager positions at Disney and Insomniac, so she's more than qualified for the job. I'll leave you guys with some shots inside the CDPR studio from online magazine Press Start to get a better feel for the environment where some of our favorite developers work. As always, thank you guys for watching, and for more Cyberpunk, join Neon Nation by subscribing to the Neon Arcade.